What is up? Coach Emma here, and welcome back to the Fit Habit Life podcast, where we cut through the noise, talk real health and fitness, sustainable fat loss, and habits that actually work. And today on the podcast, I'm going to be talking about a topic that I think is kind of underrated. Some people might think it's kind of boring, but really when you hear the benefits to it, you'll be shocked. So we're going to be talking about steps. Yes, steps, how they impact your overall health, your longevity, your quality of life, and your fat loss results, and how to manipulate them in order to improve your body composition and just improve your quality of life. So, yeah, movement matters. So that's what we'll be talking about today. But anyway, before we jump in, thank you so much for listening. If you've enjoyed the podcast, if you could rate the show, subscribe, or share it with some friends or family members who you think might benefit from it, I'd really appreciate it. That would just help me help more people. And that's the goal of this podcast, is to debunk a bunch of the crap out there, provide people with valuable information that they can actually take action on, so they can improve the quality of their life and their body composition. So anyway, thank you for listening. Now let's jump in. So steps. One, why do I even worry about steps? Well, we need to move our bodies just for literally everything. For improves your digestion, energy levels, body composition, and a bunch of other things. And steps are like an easy way to track cardio and cardiovascular output and just daily movement in general. So most of my clients, we're not doing cardio. We're focusing on improving and increasing the amount of steps that they do throughout the day, because just daily movement, daily walking is a lot lower intensity. So it tends to be, one, more sustainable. It's more easy to integrate into your day-to-day life. But then two, it's less intense. And so if you have a lot of stressors on your plate, walking actually can help reduce stress, improve anxiety, depression, mental health, while also moving your body. So getting more movement in without adding more stress onto your plate. And most people are super stressed nowadays, especially the type of people that I work with tend to be the very high achiever-esque business owner, worker. What do you call them? Like a desk job, but very driven kind of workers. And former athletes. So kind of the type A sort of individuals that are very driven and do all the things 110%. So they have a lot of stress on their plate. Usually they have a lot of roles and tasks in their daily lives and in work that just add a lot of stress. So why add more stress by having them do intense cardiovascular activity? That's not going to support their body composition goals. In fact, it could take away from those goals and make them more difficult to achieve. So that's why I use steps with most of my clients. And it's just an easy way to quantify daily movement. Just keep track of your steps using a smartwatch or a pedometer, your phone, and just slowly increase them over time. So I'll have some clients too who do work desk jobs, and they might be getting 2,000, 3,000, maybe 4,000 steps a day. And just tracking it and building awareness around that helps them increase their daily movement throughout the day. And you don't have to set aside a time to do cardio if you're tracking steps, right? Because you could just literally every hour go and grab a glass of water, or go up and down the stairs, walk to the bathroom that's across the hall, just integrate it into your day, which makes it a lot more sustainable, which is the goal here at Fit Habit Coaching. So anyway, that's why I usually talk about steps. That's usually how I increase the overall movement for my clients to help improve their body composition. And so what is the bare minimum you should do a day? So there's a lot of people out there that think 10,000 is the ideal. Really, 10,000 was created by someone who made, I'm going to look this up just to make sure, but I'm pretty sure it was like a Japanese company that was making a pedometer. And they were trying to sell their pedometer. So I'm looking that up right now. Yes, I was right. So 10,000 steps a day originated in Japan in the 60s because it was popularized by a marketing campaign for a pedometer called Manpo Kai, which translates to 10,000 steps meter. So, brain health. And that is something that movement improves. It actually helps your brain health. So I'm going to lead this into the benefits, the positive benefits of walking, how much you should actually have a day. And really the bare minimum, most people don't want to be below 7,000. So my point bringing up the 10,000 mark is that's just kind of an arbitrary number, but there are studies that show about 7,000 across the board, 7 to 8,000 is where a lot of those all-cause mortality risks drastically decrease. So, okay. So dementia risk. 7,000 steps a day was associated with a 38% decrease risk of developing dementia. Even 4,000 steps a day cut the risk of developing dementia by 25%. But the most optimal number was about 9,800, specifically for dementia. All-cause mortality. For every 1,000 step increase, like from baseline, which like average American is about 4,000 to 5,000 steps a day, and sedentary individual is less than 5,000 a day. So most of us Americans are considered sedentary. So increasing about 1,000 from that number is associated with a 15% reduction in all-cause mortality. And so the biggest benefits are seen up to 7,000 per day, or from 7,000 up to about 10,000. After 10,000, there's kind of like diminishing returns. And those plateau about 8,000 for people who are 65 or older. And even just 160 minutes of walking per day could increase your life expectancy by 5.5 years. And if you're sedentary, right, having less than 5,000 steps a day, adding 110 minutes of walking to your day will increase your life expectancy by 11 years. So if you're walking less than 5,000 steps a day and you just start walking, maybe you do 3 20-minute walks during the day, your life will increase by 11 years unless something crazy happens. So movement matters, people. Okay, number 2, metabolic health. So actually, I guess this is number 3. We started with dementia. I have notes that I'm looking at. Because remember I was saying like sometimes I forget like figures and standards and numbers. So now I'm actually using my notes if I can to make sure that the information I'm providing is not just off the top of my head, but it is fairly accurate. So, yes. So, number 3, metabolic health. So, optimal glucose metabolism. So for context, about 90%, a little bit over 90% of people are metabolically unhealthy. So most of the population has some type of metabolic dysfunction. And usually that is kind of associated with some form of difficulty metabolizing glucose, which means difficulty for your body to utilize the carbohydrates in food, which tends to lead to elevated blood sugar levels, over time leading to insulin resistance, which over time leads to difficulty losing weight and a lot easier. Basically, it'll make it a lot easier to be overweight and more difficult to be underweight, or to be not underweight, a healthier body composition. So you can have optimal glucose metabolism, basically your body's functioning optimally, with just 7,000 to 9,000 steps a day. If you increase your steps, if you're walking about 6,000 steps a day and you increase it to about 10,000, your risk of developing diabetes is cut in half. So it's decreased by 44%. Just in general, doing light, intense walking reduced your body's blood sugar levels, like after a meal, in half. So basically, walking in general, movement in general, is going to improve your metabolic health, which is going to improve your body composition, which is going to improve your ability to eat carbohydrates and enjoy them. And even just walking after a meal, adding in like little intense walks, will also improve your ability to manage and regulate your blood sugar levels. So the point of this, walking improves your body composition and metabolic health. And even just adding short stints, you don't have to go on super long walks. You can just go on short little walks throughout the day, especially after meals, and that's going to help. And that's why I track steps. Not everybody has an hour to walk on the treadmill for, but if you can do like a couple 5-minute walks throughout the day, you're going to hit that step goal, and it's going to be a lot more sustainable. Cardiovascular risk. Walking actually drastically improves or reduces your risk of having cardiovascular disease and death associated with cardiovascular disease. So most people, and that's another thing, like most people don't need to be doing intensive exercise to improve their cardiovascular health. Most people aren't super active in general. Most people are sedentary. Most Americans are walking less than 5,000 steps a day, which is considered sedentary. So just starting to move more and walk more and improve your step count, that's going to reduce your risk of developing cardiovascular disease. So even just increasing to about 6,000 is like an optimal reduction in your risk of developing cardiovascular disease. But the highest reduction is about 10,000 steps a day. So, and as I'm sure you can see a trend, it's like really 7,000 to about 10,000 a day is where you want to be for the most part. Given all the topics that we've talked about so far, that seems to be the trend, right? Walking also improves your hormone profile. So if you have less than 4,000 steps a day, you probably have lower levels of testosterone. If you're 4,000 to 8,000 steps a day, you have a 14% risk of low testosterone. If you're walking more than 8,000 steps a day, there's only about an 8% risk of having low testosterone levels. So like basically 8,000 to 10,000 steps a day to have quality levels of testosterone naturally. So just in general, movement matters for your sex hormones as well, and gut health. And I'm reading my notes as I'm talking, which is why it's kind of less fluid. But just in general, I don't know if you guys have ever heard about fart walks. It's like going on a walk after a meal. Well, people call them fart walks. Well, most people don't eat very well, and most people have digestive issues because in what I've experienced, most people, right, 90% or more of Americans are metabolically unhealthy. Most of those Americans also have digestive issues in some fashion. And most of it is due to lifestyle and diet. And movement. Movement is part of lifestyle. So anyway, so you're improving the quality of your food, you're eating better, you're moving better, you're staying hydrated, you're improving your lifestyle, your sleep, your stress, yada yada. Usually gut health improves. But most people notice, like, hey, you go on a walk after you eat, that helps you get the gas out of your system, helps improve the digestion, and helps you feel better. So, movement, low intensity movement, actually kind of stimulates that rest and digest kind of state, puts your body into a more relaxed state, which allows your body to start to digest things. So, that is partially why. But also just in general, being more active, people tend to have a healthier gut microbiome. So about 7,000 to 9,000 steps a day. If you do that, you tend, like in studies, it's shown people who are more active tend to have a healthier gut microbiome. And it could be a correlation because people who are more active tend to eat a little bit better. People who are more active probably care a little bit more about their health. So they're making better food decisions and that sort of thing. But I think it's like they both play a role. Like movement in general is important for digestive health, but people who are more active also just make better food choices usually. Like when I'm going to the gym, I'm less likely, like on a day I'm training, I'm less likely to eat crap because I'm like, hey, I just worked hard. I want to replenish my body, fuel my body adequately in order to build muscle and just work optimally. Like I want to fuel my body properly. So I'm probably not going to have a beer. I'm probably not going to have, go out and eat a bunch of crap. So I don't know. I think it's a combo. And for stress, this is kind of what I touched on earlier on, but just movement in general. Like, I don't know if you guys have ever tried this. If not, you should. Going on a walk when you're kind of stressed without your phone, without technology, without headphones on, kind of in nature, like in a park outside where there's trees or stuff, I always feel so much better. Just in general, I always feel so much better. And I think it's because there's actually studies that show a 15-minute walk in nature can reduce cortisol, which is that stress hormone, by 14%. And a 30-minute walk shows 18.5% reduction in stress per hour. So like for every hour that you're doing it, your cortisol is decreasing. There is like a kind of a bell curve. So after about like 2 hours, it kind of plateaus, but kind of cool. Cancer risk was lowered by about 11% for people who are walking 7,000 steps a day, and was lowered 16% for people walking 9,000 steps a day compared to people walking about 5,000 steps a day. And again, I think there is like a correlation between people who are more active and they just tend to live a healthier lifestyle. But I also think when you become more active, you want to live a healthier lifestyle. So it's like kind of a twofer. So anyway, sleep too. People who get around 10,000 steps per day have better sleep quality and tend to have less trouble going to sleep. So yeah, and it's interesting too because just going on a long walk, like, so there's different ways to get these steps, right? I tell my clients, I just give them steps because they can get them whatever way fits into their schedule. But people who are more active throughout the day tend to have better metabolic health in general. So what I recommend doing, I mean, obviously just get the steps in where you can. That's kind of the take home here. If you're working a desk job, get a standing desk. I'm using mine right now. Sit and stand. Maybe you drink out of a glass of water. So every hour you have to get up and go get another one, right? Try to integrate more movement into your day. But integrating more movement into your day is better than just going on an hour walk to get those steps. So doing a combo is beneficial because for some people listening, probably for you, walking might be more challenging than it is for me because I've been very active for a while. So it's not as strenuous. So going on a longer walk can improve your cardiovascular health too. Like it might be a zone 2 effort for you, which is awesome. That's great. That means going on those longer walks is going to challenge your body so your body adapts and improves your heart health, your metabolic health, your energy levels, and so forth. But also, you don't have to do that. You can just integrate shorter bouts of movement throughout your day. So, how should you do this, like strategically? Like, how do I do this with my clients? So, with my clients, depends on the client, but there's a couple of ways I go about doing this. Some, we have them track their steps, and I just slowly increase it over time, about 10 to 20% week over week. So, for example, if someone's coming to me, they're stepping 2,000 steps a day, that next week's goal might be about 2,500. Right? That's about 20% increase, 25% to be specific. But then that way, it's like not that much to where it's overwhelming, but it's not too little to where it's too easy. But some clients, it's like we're just adding in habits that will enable them to increase their step count. So this week, I think like 4 of my clients were working on this. And so some of them, I just gave them a step goal. Other clients actually just said, hey, let's just add in a 10-minute walk at lunchtime after you eat. And so I will find out this week if it worked, but it usually does. 10 minutes of walking for most people is about 1,000 steps-ish. Depends on height, weight, movement speed, stride length, that sort of thing, but usually is what I've kind of noticed. So anyway, so there's like tricks like that. Like you can just say, hey, after each meal, I'm going to go on a 5 to 10 minute walk. That's 15 to 30 minutes of movement throughout the day. You're probably going to get an extra 10 to 2,000 steps. 1 to 2,000 steps. So if you have a step tracker, it's just good to build awareness, because something too is you don't want to increase it too much to where it's unsustainable. And there is, like I said, there's diminishing returns on daily movement. So if you're stepping more than 15,000 steps a day, you're not fueling your body adequately. That could be too much stress on the body. Even though walking is lower intensity, there is still such a thing as too much movement. So it's something to be aware of. But yeah, so usually clients' goal is to get them to 8 to 10,000 steps a day, because given all the other studies that I've just talked about and all the positive health benefits from getting in that range, I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer if you want to live a good quality life, and that's going to improve your body composition. So yeah. And so with my clients, I will leverage this in fat loss phases as well. Like I said, so, right, health is number one, but if you're like in a fat loss phase and you've plateaued a little bit, that's when you can manipulate these variables like movement and calories and other things in order to continue to see progress. And so really, like increasing your step count, if you've hit a plateau, that can kind of help without having to cut more food. Usually, I don't like to do a fat loss phase more than about 12 to 16 weeks, depending on the client. If they're really overweight, then that's something we'll probably be in a little bit longer. But if they're, just trying to lose about 20 pounds or so, usually after about 12 to 16 weeks, we'll give their body a break, maybe go into a slight surplus or maintenance calories for a month or two, and then go back into that cut. So anyway, but you can manipulate movement as you can calories. And if your calories are really low, 1, you probably need to build more muscle, but 2, you can use movement to help break that plateau. But movement like steps, because it's less intense and is less stressful on the body. But as I said, you can still do too much movement. So don't usually want to push past that 15,000 step mark, because I'm working with people who want to improve their health, usually body composition, but not bodybuilders, like not people that push things to an unhealthy level. So anyway, that's kind of the gist. So steps matter, movement matters. How you get them in doesn't matter. Just try to get them in. Start slow, progress over time, shoot for 7,000 to 10,000 steps a day. But as I said, if you're walking 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, don't jump up to that number. Just add in more movement throughout your day and see if you get to that number. If not, then maybe having a more specific goal or more targeted goal, like slowly trying to increase your steps by about 500 to 1,000 every week till you get that number, is kind of a good place to be. But yeah, and if you have any questions about this, hit me up on social media. Be more than happy to chat. But thank you for listening if you made it this far, and I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.